Before I start today's video, I want to say that I'm sorry this video is taking so long to come out. See, I just started school back, and I recently got addicted to Fall Guys and DayZ. So, anyways, let's just get on with the video. A few weeks ago, I and some fellow weirdos got into a weird rant or argument, if that's what you want to call it, about if Rey from Star Wars was a Mary Sue. If you've been living under a rock since 2015 or have no idea what a Mary Sue is, Merriam-Webster defines a Mary Sue as a type of female character who is depicted unrealistically, lacking in flaws or in weakness. And in researching this video, a Google drop-down tab from Forbes appeared saying, "Is Rey a Mary Sue? A true Mary Sue would have turned Kylo Ren, killed Snoke, and saved the Resistance fleet. Rey did none of these things." Well, the answer is simple. She's not a Mary Sue. That's just a really lame way to complain about a character that some people really dislike for reasons I simply cannot fathom. While I agree somewhat, I'm willing to bet that half of you agree 100% with that, and the other half thinks the complete opposite. The only way I can think to come to a consensus is to completely break down Rey's character. My main gripe with the way Rey is written is she has no flaws. In fact, one of the first major things we see her do is save a random droid she has no connection to. For what reason?
Talama Parkwal! Parkwal Zatana! Noma!
Why would she do this? And just a few minutes later, she denies selling it for 60 portions, despite us already being shown in the previous scene that she needs this food. She doesn't act like a real person. She acts like a caricature. I think Dr. Shane puts it best.
So what makes a female character strong or not? To write a good female character, you need to write them the same way you would write a male character. I don't mean you should write them to be like a male character, but write them with the same thought process as you would a male character. That is to say, you write them with a personality, goals, flaws, strengths, weaknesses, a dramatic need, relationships, and so on. All of the same things you would give to a strong male character. It should be understood that a strong character is not necessarily one who's strong physically, but one who's compelling and who the audience wants to watch and know more about. The problem with writing a strong female character is that many writers seem to think that for a female character to be considered strong, she needs to be an empowered, independent woman who don't need no man. Too often, a writer will overcompensate and end up writing a female character stripped of any traits our society would consider traditionally feminine, and replace them with traditionally masculine traits. The writer will make their female character essentially a man in a woman's body. Now let's get one thing straight. There is nothing wrong with being feminine. In fact, I would go so far as to say society needs people who have traits we would traditionally characterize as feminine.
To me, Rey is just a bare step up from this kind of character.
What are you gonna Google her now?
I thought I was ogling her. Oh, wow. Very, very impressive individual.
so
She's fluent
predictable,
in
you know
French, Italian, Russian, Latin. Who speaks Latin?
No one speaks Latin.
No
It's
one
a
speaks
dead
Latin?
language. You can read Latin or you can write Latin,
Did
but
you
you can't
model in
speak Latin.
Tokyo? 'Cause she
Yeah, she has goals and a backstory. We don't have to wait for a miniseries over 2 years after her character died, which I guess is a benefit. But the thing that makes me think she's a Mary Sue is she never has to work for anything. Take Anakin from the prequel trilogy. His character had to go through 3 movies worth of character development to be as powerful and as jaded and as mysterious as he was in the original trilogy. A few scenes later, she flies the Millennium Falcon damn near perfect, despite us, the audience, being outright told she doesn't know how to fly and has never flown in her life before. Now, if you had no clue about that, and you just saw this one clip,
Are we really doing this?
Would you believe she's never flown a ship before? Let alone it being the penultimate ship of the Star Wars universe, that in my opinion, a new character should have to work, should have to earn to be able to fly a ship with such legendary status in this universe. Now let's talk about another space wandering nobody who has a name that starts with R. Ripley. If you've seen the Alien movies, not this one, you'd know that Ripley is one of the best written female characters to date. There are several reasons for this. One of them is the way she was written. Dan O'Bannon, the screenwriter for Alien, wrote all his characters, including Ripley, without race or gender in mind, allowing him to keep the same thought process as if he were writing a man. This is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to write a female character. Mainly because we get less of this.
Important member of the undercover team.
Yeah, right. In a thong.
Hey! In a tasteful one piece. Come on, look, you do a few butt shaping exercises. You tighten this up, you can pull this off.
You know what? Pull this off.
And this.
You can read Latin. Or
The way Ripley is written in the follow-up to Aliens, is she isn't stripped of her femininity unlike Rey and several other characters. Instead, it's used to drive the main focus of the film. To give a quick rundown, Aliens, the movie, starts 57 years after Ripley put herself into cryosleep at the end of the first film. During this time, her daughter lived her life and died in between while her mom was in stasis. This predictably tears Ripley apart emotionally. She meets Newt, a little girl who lost her entire family and home when her planet was decimated by the xenomorphs. This connection of losing everything to these disgusting creatures, if you can even call them that, fosters a surrogate mother-daughter relationship. During this time, Ripley is thrust into leading a xenomorph death squad, despite her noticeable phobia of the creatures. When all of a sudden Newt is kidnapped and taken to a xenomorph nest, prompting Ripley to overcome her fear, use her maternal instincts to do something so brave that no man would ever do. Long story short, she charged into the nest with a flamethrower, barbecues some xenomorphs, grabs Newt, throws another xenomorph out of a hatch into space, and the day's been saved. In Aliens, Ripley is not stripped of her weakness or femininity. She uses it to her advantage and overcomes her phobia to do something no man would ever do. Femininity doesn't make a character weak. When used right, it can become a strength. And no, I don't mean this. Let's compare and contrast, shall we? Let's start with Rey. She's written with no flaws or defining characteristics. She does have some goals and aspirations, but lacks the willingness to act on her desires. She never has to earn or work for the things she's given. It goes, she finds BB-8, then she finds the Millennium Falcon. She flies it really well. Then she finds Luke's lightsaber. And you get my point from there on. It feels like a checklist of plot points rather than an actual arc. Now let's move on to Ripley. She was written with character flaws. She has to overcome her phobia in the second film. Like Rey, Ripley is a nobody, a literal space trucker. She isn't overly smart or overpowered. She does what she has to in order to ensure her own survival. She uses her femininity and maternal instincts to do something so brave in the second film that it makes her feel believable. That's what makes Ripley so much better than Rey. She's human. How would I fix Rey and The Force Awakens in general? I know nobody asked for this, but I would start shortly after her introduction. After she saves BB-8. For me, from the get, she would have selling him in mind, since we already established she's strapped for food. And then after we see her back at home and her down AT-AT, enjoying her food, then she hears somebody coughing outside from the heat, and we hear something collapse. This would be where we first see Finn after the TIE fighter crash. She would bring him inside, feed him, you would recap his story so far. That's when he'd bring up the droid, and it had a map to Luke Skywalker inside. Now we have our inciting incident. Knowing the droid she sold had a map to the galaxy's most famous Jedi gives her some incentive to stage a breakout and perhaps get rich, or maybe even more than that. I've only changed about 15 minutes worth of screen time, and we've already eliminated the "it's a reskin New Hope" complaint. From this point, I would leave most of the rest of the story alone, besides changing the way Rey Tokyo drifts the Millennium Falcon, and just overall make her earn what she's been given. When writing female characters, I think George R.R. Martin puts it best.
What was your intent in providing such female characters of strength in a genre that typically reduces women to witches, wives, and/or whores?
Well, to be fair, I have my share of all of those witches, wives, and whores. but I try to make them fully fleshed out human witches, wives, and whores, and as well to introduce other things. Well, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about common humanity. It seems strange that I have to say this. It's sort of a weirdly radical statement, but women are people, and they're driven by the same desires that drive men. I think a desire for respect and power, a desire to protect their children, greed for money, for acclaim. Everybody wants to be loved. It's all common humanity, and I just try to write my female characters as I write my male characters, I do take into account that it's a very patriarchal society, so they are limited to certain roles, and some of them fit comfortably within the roles that their Westerosi society has assigned them, and some of them do not fit comfortably into those roles, and therefore encounter a certain amount of rejection or tension or ridicule as they try to pursue their own dreams, or as they frustrate their own dreams. And all this is great. All this is conflict. It's character tension. It's what story is all about. The human heart in conflict with itself once again. And one of the things that pleases me no end is that I have so many women readers, and that they do write me all the time and say that they really like my female.
I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. If I said something you disagreed with or want to add on to the conversation, tell me in the comments. If there's some way I can improve, feel free to tell me I'm garbage and how to improve in the comments. If you liked today's video, hit the like button and the sub button so my videos can reach a wider audience. Have a good day, y'all.